500 transactions a year with zero Zillow? Are you freaking kidding me? Oh my gosh. We got with us today Mr. Ryan Young, the founder of Fellow, by the way. But he owns a real estate team. He's got I want to say, is it 11 or 12 agents? No, 15 agents.
15 agents, 15.
15 agents doing 500 transactions a year, of which 350 of those transactions are listings, and all of it without Zillow. And so we're going to dive deep on that. I want you guys in the comments below, I want you to type in your questions for us. What is it you want to know from Ryan? What would you like to do? And what I'd like to know is, are you using Zillow or not? So if you're using Zillow, type in, I'm a Zillow guy. If you're not using Zillow, I want you to say, I am Zillow free and loving it. And let's just dive deep. Ryan, pretty impressive numbers. First of all, what market do you serve?
Yeah, so we're Greater Cleveland. So Cleveland, Akron, Canton, Northeast Ohio.
All of Northeast Ohio. Okay, that's awesome. And so 350 transactions. How long have you been selling real estate? I'm sorry, 500 transactions a year.
500 transactions. So I started in the best possible time to get your real estate license, 2009. It seemed like a novel idea at the time. But I will say it did. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And the first about probably 4 or 5 years of my real estate career definitely made me stronger and taught me a skill set that I feel like a lot of newer agents potentially lack, which is something I'm pretty passionate about helping them gain. But it taught me to go hunt. And as you can imagine, a lot of expireds, a lot of FSBOs during those times. And one of the things I really focused on was skill set and being on the phones. And it's what I, love about Austin so much is he's absolutely crushes that side of the business. And that's really how I built mine.
So, okay, that's really interesting. I want to dig a little deeper on that. I want to go a little deeper on the whole. What did you do in your first few years? What did your day look like? What did your typical day look like?
So the first 2 years I consider was like an internship. I joined my parents' real estate business. It was just the two of them, mom and dad. At the time, they were in their mid 60s and they were selling about 40 homes a year between the both of them. Nice little business, very respectable. The first 2 years was literally like posting pictures on the MLS, taking photographs, putting signs in the yard, working rental leads, like all the things that like are not the glorious side of real estate. Mm-hmm. Once we hit about 2011 was when I got a coach. I started focusing on role play every day. And basically my days consisted of role play and then lead generation for anywhere from, I'd say, 4 to 6 hours. We always considered it, if you don't have any dollar productive activities, which we consider either lead generation, going on appointments, or negotiating deals, then you should be essentially lead generating, right? And the only thing you're allowed to replace lead generation with is another dollar productive activity. And so I literally just sat in, we had these phone booths at my office, and I sat in there all day and just on the phones. And over a long period of time, a couple years, that stuff starts to compound. And some of the people you talked to 6 months, a year ago, all of a sudden finally are ready. And so it's like one of those things that for especially anyone that's just starting off, it might seem really discouraging when you get a lot of no's, but you'd be shocked at within 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, how many of those no's eventually become a yes. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short, is on the follow-up, is they're looking for the right now, and they're not looking to build a foundation or a pipeline. I was okay with building a big pipeline, and a lot of that pipeline ended up producing opportunities, 6, 12, 18 months later.
It's interesting you say that, because I think a lot of people in real estate, they get discouraged if they don't get that instant gratification. And the reality is it's a long game. Real estate is not a short game. It's a long game. It takes a lot of time to build that pipeline up. And it takes a lot of time doing the stuff that nobody wants to do. And I think that's lost on a lot of agents.
What's so fascinating is this is something I got right really quickly on when I started lead generating. I wasn't as focused on people that were expiring and going for sale by owner that expired that day, right? What I did really well were the people that expired 6, 12 months ago, because it's a crazy how many real estate agents stop calling them, right? And so it's like when you call an expired, that's brand new. Now I still do that, and our team still does that, and I still did that. But you get this very hostile seller saying like, you're the 100th and 30th person that's called me today. Where were you when my house was on the market? Blah, blah, blah. When you call someone that expired 6 months ago, they're all of a sudden like, they got all these calls the first week, right? They started to get less calls the first month. And now 6 months later, they're barely getting any calls. And all of a sudden they're like a little bit vulnerable. Like, what happened? Everyone was chasing me and now no one's chasing me anymore. And it's like, it was just interesting that was a place where I found the sweet spot for myself. I enjoyed those conversations. I found a lot of motivated sellers, and they were a lot more open to having a conversation because they kind of like got beat up for being on the market for 6 months. And then they came off market and got beat up for a month by getting hounded by realtors. And then all of a sudden everyone just forgot about them and started chasing the newest expireds. And it just showed me how powerful the follow-up is on those type of opportunities.
So what do you think the average is? How long did you follow up with somebody before they would actually become a listing?
I would say on expireds, the sweet spot was 6 months. 6 months for me was the first call was always just, I always did this. After every call, my goal was just to create some rapport, establish some sort of relationship with them, and then text them as soon as I hang up the phone. So let's say I just hung up with you. Michael, hey, great connecting with you. Really excited to have a conversation in the spring, right? Then before my next conversation, I would text you. Now you already saw the last text, right? And I would say, hey, Michael, hope all is well. I just wanted to check in, see how everything's going. And now what's happening is you already see the text message saying that we already spoke. Now, when I call you, all of a sudden it's coming from a recognized number. It's not a cold call anymore. So I really leveraged the first call, not to go in and try to close them. I would really leverage the first call just to establish some sort of recognition and rapport, and then make sure I had that text message in there so that they had a trail of all the text messages when I reached out to them. I would always text them before I would call them, and just to kind of remind them who I was before I actually made the phone call. And it seems like when I did that, they were so much more receptive. When I'd call them, it'd be like, hey, how's your shoulder doing? I know it's been a rough couple months. Like, I just wanted to check in, see how your shoulder's doing. And by the way, what's the plan? Spring's starting to pick up. We just sold this house around the corner. If it made financial sense, would you be open to having a conversation? And it's amazing how by then, all of a sudden, I felt like I wasn't competing against other agents. I felt like it was my opportunity to lose.
Well, what that does too is it changes the nature of the conversation, right?
100%.
So instead of it being me chasing people, it's me attracting people. It's instead of well, I'll give you an example. What you just said. You were talking about the shoulder, and I know you're referencing actually real life. My shoulder broke, right? And I'm assuming that the reason you remembered to think about that is not because you've got the best memory on the planet, but because you use your CRM properly and you put a quick little note in your CRM to say, hey, next time you talk to Michael, ask him about his shoulder. Or next time you talk to so-and-so, see how their daughter's doing at college or whatever, right? Yeah. And it's little things like that. You don't need, and I think a lot of people, use of CRM is a major component to this. I mean, obviously.
Well, it's so funny. One of I would always also throw that in the text message, like, hey, great speaking with you. Rest up that shoulder, right? So like when I go to, text you again, it's right there. One of the things I always talk about, and this is something the young team is obsessed with, is we talk about database hygiene a lot. And, the young team lives and dies by our CRM. And, we sell 500 homes a year without having the Zillow spends and the realtor.com spends, because we have a database of 55,000 people that we are obsessed with building. And we are focused. That's a metric or a KPI that we track. And when I speak on stages, and I think I spoke about this at Club Wealth, when we talk about database hygiene, I look at your database as your largest asset within the real estate industry, right? When you think of other large assets, think of houses, think of boats, think of airplanes. If I were to say to people who own boats, which I don't, do you maintain your boat? Everyone would be like 100%. You have to, otherwise it'll depreciate. It'll fall apart, right? Your house, do you replace your filters on your furnaces? Do you replace your roof when it's leaking or before it starts leaking? Do you, continue to make investments into these large assets? And one of the things that's so important with the young team is our database is this large asset. And we actually have a database manager that is literally making sure that everything is being followed. If someone comes in as Timothy and their email is tim@theyoungteam.com, we change their name to Tim. And I know it's these little things. When I talk to you, if you tell me, I go by Mike or Mikey, or I prefer to be called Michael. That is a note in our database, and we make sure the name reflects it. When I call you, if I call you Mike and you go by Michael, all of a sudden you're going to know that it's a salesperson. Or if you go by Mike and I call you Michael because that's the formal name that you came in by when the lead came in, you're going to know immediately, like, who is this? Oh, you're shutting down. You're getting defensive right out of the gate. All our automations, all of our marketing factors that in. If you get a text message, automated text message or email that says not your actual, what you go by name, that reduces the probability of us being able to convert it into an opportunity. So for us, we make a very small investment. It's a VA that we have, and he focuses on database hygiene every single day. That's how important our database is to us.
Wow. Well, so that's in, by the way, I'm a huge believer in database hygiene, and I think it means different things to different people. But to your point, making sure that, you're getting that nickname right, making sure that you're spelling their names right, making sure that their email address is correct, and that's, it's so often that we'll see, just a typo in an email address, right? Like
100%. Well, and the crazy part about it is I can't tell you how many times I've seen on the young team, we call the number and it says disconnected, right? And it's like, but we have the ability in software to find the right number. So it's like, did you go and find, like, these are little things that it's like, so if the number is disconnected, you're just going to give up. This is a person that just inquired. We know that the email matches their name. This is a bought opportunity, or, it's an organic opportunity, either or. But it's like, imagine if you look at it through the lens of, like, every single opportunity costs the agent on our team the money, not costing the rainmaker, right? And are they treating it that way? And that's something that we've just kind of repeatedly over and over talked about. And between, one of the reasons why, and I know we'll talk a little bit more about Fellow in the future, or a little bit later, but one of the things that was so powerful about Fellow is what it was, the kind of the premise of it was, when the young team, we used to set buyer appointments. Before we did so, we had a process, an SOP that said you have to go into Forewarn, that was provided by our MLS, and look up their criminal history to make sure that we're not going on any appointments for safety purposes, right? Mm-hmm. Well, what happened was we'd go to Forewarn and there would be their address sitting right there. And we weren't putting that address in the CRM. And I'm like, guys, how lazy could we possibly be? We literally are going to Forewarn to make sure that they don't have a criminal history. And we're looking at their home address. We can see that they own it. So now you have a buyer lead that owns a home, and you're not taking the address and actually going and putting it in the CRM. Think about all these missed opportunities, right? And this, when we started actually doing this manually, it kind of became the foundation of Fellow. So I say it because, like, these are the littlest things when I talk about database hygiene. Imagine all the homeowners that are sitting in your database that you don't even know are homeowners. Imagine what your business looked like if you knew they were homeowners. And so this is things like these little things, these little, they tiny hinges swing big doors, right? Like, these are all these where there's so much revenue sitting in our business, but it requires some work and effort, right? But if you really want to wean off of the paid lead sources, the Zillow leads, the realtor, et cetera, these are the things that you have to invest into your business that'll pay off hand over fist.
Well, and so let's talk about that really quick. So I want to back up to the 55,000 leads in your database.
Yep.
Where did those leads come from?
Yeah. So we're obsessed with organic database growth. Every time someone sends us an email, sends us a note, whatever it is, they're going in the database. So I'll give you an example. And some people might think I'm crazy, but I have 2 kids, a 3 and a 5-year-old, and I just got an email with 25 of the parents CC'd on it saying, we're all chipping in $15 to buy the teachers a present. All 25 of those emails are going into my database, right? And some people be like, but isn't that like a little aggressive? Or, these people didn't like opt in. It's like, these are 25 people that share that I have something in common with, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll start to market to them something very subtle, like their home's value, where they already know me, right? And if they want to unsubscribe, they can. But those are the little things. Every time we just did Pie Day, we gave away 1,100 pies. We put a QR code on the pie box. Getting your home value is as easy as pie. All those people are taking those pies to Thanksgiving dinners, and we get a bunch of scans, people organically building our database. We do a lot of community events, and we prefer to do community events that are larger, where we'll put a tent out and we'll have a little billboard that says, guess your home value, win a prize. And we have a QR code. They scan it, right? So it's like, in our email signatures, get your home value in seconds. Every open house that we do, we have a platform that just captures it and pushes right in. So it's like, if you become obsessed with building your database organically, it's amazing how quickly your database can amass to a really big number. I tell people all the time, look in your phone. If you have an iPhone, you can scroll all the way down. I'm assuming you could do it on Android as well. I have like 4,600 contacts on my cell phone. How many people do you think have 1,000 plus contacts and yet they only have 100, 200 people in their CRM? How many people do you think are friends with thousands of people on Facebook, yet they only have 100, 200, 500 people in their CRM, right? Like, it's just that you have to care enough that you want to build your CRM. And then once you build your CRM, market it to it, even if it's very low intent marketing. It's a way to get your brand in front of this database. But if you start making that a priority, and we hold our team accountable to it, it is crazy how quickly the database builds.
Yeah, I hear you there, and I believe that. I've experienced that in my business as a real estate coach. I definitely experienced that in my business as an agent. I'm looking at my notes here. Forewarn. I want to make sure that everybody goes back and Forewarn is a product that everybody that's watching this should be using. It's a great product. And it, not only does it help you identify if somebody is a problem or not, so you're not going out and meeting some predator, but you also can get their address and you can put that in your CRM. I always tell people
their phone numbers on it. You can find their age on it. Like, you want to know, how should I talk to this person differently? If you're talking to a 85-year-old versus a 35-year-old, you probably want to change the communication style, right? Maybe you write a handwritten note and put it in the mail. And Forewarn, I don't know, for us, it's provided by our MLS, right? It's something that is given. Once again, this was kind of the foundation of Fellow, was like, we're literally looking at this platform and we're disregarding all this really valuable, rich information. And it's like, it's just one of those things that I started realizing, like, what are we doing? What if we started dropping notes in the mail because the house that they owned, we have buyers for, and it's amazing at how many opportunities it created.
Yep. And by the way, Lori Shilikowski is watching, and Lori, thanks for that great comment. That we should all be advocating for our MLS to offer Forewarn as a benefit, and a lot of MLSs now, more than ever before, are starting to offer it for free.
100%.
So come back to on the 55,000. Are you saying in the beginning, it sounds like you bought some leads in the beginning, did a lot of Fizzos, expireds, that sort of thing. How many of those 55,000 leads do you think are purchased? How many of those do you think were organically driven subsequently?
I would say less than 10,000 of them are purchased.
Okay.
One of the things that we also are adamant about is, I feel like I'm a bully at the high school or the school cafeteria, holding the kid upside down, trying to shake the coins out of his pocket. When agents join our team, we ask them to upload their database, right? And a lot of times they'll literally put like 50, 100 people in there, and we're like, where's the rest of it? Like, shaking them upside down. Like, I know you have more coins in your pocket. And Dustin on our team, a great example. He put like 100 people in when he first joined, because what we do is we send an email welcoming them to the team to their database. So we say, upload your database. We'll market that you just joined our team, right? And all the benefits of working with the young team. And this is a great way to welcome and celebrate you in this transition into our organization. And so this guy, Dustin, I remember this conversation so clearly. I was like, you have 100 people in your database. Where's the rest of it? He's like, well, I don't really know anyone else. Like, and I'm like, you just got married like a year ago, right? How many people did you have at your wedding? He's like, 250. I'm like, dude, how did you have 250 people at your wedding, yet you only have 100 people in your database? Like, come on, man. Like, where's the rest of it? And you have to really challenge people. And he's like, well, some of them were like my aunts and uncles. It's like, put them in the database. Like, right? Why would you not put them in the database? Well, one of my aunts is also a realtor, or their cousin's a realtor, or whatever it is. It's like, who cares? Put them in the database. You never know. Don't make assumptions why people aren't going to work with you. Put them in the database. Let's provide them value, right? And so another way that we build our database is we encourage our team members, and not just the salespeople, but also the operations team members. We have 15 sales 15 agents, but about 10 operation. And it's like, there are 25 people that help us build our database, that help us get Google 5-star reviews, that like are a distribution channel for the entire organization, that it's really helpful to lean into them. But if you just give them the, benefit of the doubt and say, upload your database, they're going to give you 50 to 100 people, and that's it. When you start challenging them and saying, how many do you have in your phone that are not in your database? How many are you friends with on Facebook that are not on your database? How many people do you have at your wedding, with your kids' schools, with whatever it may be? Go to your email and type in CC :me, ME. It'll show you every email that you're CC'd on. This is a Gmail thing, and it'll show you every single email that you are CC'd on. There are some emails where I'm CC'd with 20, 30 people, right? Like, put them in your database, like leverage forewarn. Most people's emails are ryan.young83 or whatever it is. Like, their name, first name, last name, then go to forewarn, find their phone number. My point is, I heard someone once say, we're more addicted to painkillers than we are vitamins. We would rather buy a lead for $100, $200, $1,000. I don't know what leads cost, right? That converts at 1% or 2%, whatever leads converted now, versus spend a little bit of time to when you get an email and there's 8 other people CC'd on it, to go in and put those emails into your database, right? Like, but we'd rather complain about the leads we're buying that are really expensive, that convert really low, when you have leads right there. And I get all fired up on it, but it's like, it's just such it's so logical to me. And one of the things I'm so proud of is, we do have a 7-figure net income business. It has been for the past probably 5 years now. I've been out of production for 4 of them. And one of the things that I was very apprehensive about was, when I got out of production, would my net income start to drop, right? And while I've been building Fellow for the last few years, the fact that I've built this, this mechanism, this muscle within the Young team that is focused on this asset that produces these opportunities, I don't have to spend more money buying more leads. The database produces plenty for us.
So let's talk about that process. So obviously Fellow is a part of that process, but before we talk about Fellow, I want to hear about the manual part of that process. So you got 55,000 leads. Obviously somebody's calling these leads. Is it ISAs calling them? Is it the agents on the team calling them? And are you guys doing client events on a regular basis? I know you do a pie event. I want to know what the system for nurturing this 55,000 person database is.
So that's kind of the core competency of Fellow. So we have a few mechanisms. So we have the automated mechanism, which is Fellow. And once again, our database, 55,000 contacts, about 45,000 of them have addresses attached. And that's something that, so we have a very large, when people hear the amount of seller leads, or the amount of listing appointments that we do, or the amount of listings that we take, it's a lot easier when I say I have 55,000 contacts in my database and 45,000 of them have addresses. It's a lot easier for me to set listing appointments out of our database. And a lot of our messaging towards our database is seller messaging. And if you go to theyoungteam.com, it's all seller messaging. Get your home value, get a guaranteed offer on your home. It's like, you don't find a lot of buyer messaging on what we do. A lot of our buyers are just a byproduct of our listings, right? So we have this automated mechanism, which is Fellow, right? That's engaging and warming up a lot of our database. We do have an ISA model, which I am a huge advocate for. It is really hard to stand up. For us, it has worked really well. I've been through the trials and tribulations over the past 6 years trying to find the right fit. Our ISAs are onshore. They are local, which it just works for us. And they're basically in the database every single day, working through people that are engaging with the marketing that's happening through Fellow. So Fellow's automating the marketing and messaging. And then what we do is we leverage the engagement to have conversations. So basically, Fellow kind of takes the top of the funnel, right, and creates all this engagement and warms it up, gets people to raise their hands. Then the ISAs have conversations, what I would consider as more middle of funnel, trying to push them down to the bottom of funnel. They obviously set the appointment for the agents, and our agents are selling 40 plus homes a year. So it's like they're predominantly, when you think of dollar productive activities, they're not doing a significant amount of lead generation. What they're really doing is going on appointments, following up with appointments they've been on that they haven't converted, and working their sphere of influence. And so, it's a model that works really well for us. One of the things I'm really proud of in our model is I'll have some agents this year literally pay in $500,000, and they'll make maybe 300, 275, 300. And some people are like, why would an agent pay you $500,000 to be a part of your team? But I can consistently produce listing appointments for them every week. So we've built a model because of the automation touching the database, the ISAs then intercepting the people that are engaging with the automation. My agents have to do is go on appointments and talk to their sphere, right? And we give them tools and we hold them accountable to the conversations with their sphere. The funny thing about it is it's not a sexy model. It's like back to the basics, blocking and tackling the way the real estate industry used to be. You network, you build a database, you talk to your database, and you build your business,
Right. So pretty straightforward. So, okay. So let me ask you this. So how many appointments per week? So first of all, how many ISAs do you have?
4 full-time ISAs.
4 full-time ISAs. And how many appointments per week is each one expected to set?
I'm expecting them to set 5 a week, appointment a day per ISA. Okay. Yep. Now it ebbs and flows, right? Sometimes one's hot, sometimes one's cold. Sometimes, I would say we're seeing anywhere from like 15 to 20 appointments set a week. And then from a held standpoint, we see about 70% of them held.
Yeah, that's actually, those numbers are consistent with what Austin's getting. And so essentially though, they're setting appointments for everybody on the team, but they're setting them through your database in general. What other nurture is going on with, let's talk about, you said you do client events. How many client events a year are you doing? What is the follow-up process for those?
Yeah, so we do 3 big ones, and we're looking to continue to double down on this. The client events that we do, the Pi Day being one of them, and then the other 2, just an example of one that we did this year, and it kind of it's brought to us by our team members. We talk to our team members about what they're most passionate about and who wants to spearhead. If you're passionate about it, you have to be willing to spearhead because if we do an event, we go all in, right? Like it's not just like sign up. It's like the team participates. We make a donation. If it's some sort of charity, I'll give you an example. About 2 months ago, about 2 months ago, we did Wolfstock. We have a lot of clients with pets, dogs. For the most part, I've got a couple dogs. So does the majority of our team members. We did something called Wolfstock. So what we did was we made a large donation it supports the APL. We basically went to our entire database and said, we're going to be at Wolfstock. We hope to see you there. It's like 6,000 people. But if you can't make it, we would love for you to make a donation, bring a can of food to our office, bring pet supplies, whatever it is, because we're going to make a donation. So it was a way for us to leverage not only being at this event with 6,000 new people and inviting our clients, but also a way to touch our clients multiple times and say, you can participate in this with us, which ultimately had clients coming to our office, dropping, we had this big donation, right? And so it's like now all of a sudden clients are coming to our office to drop off a bag of dog food, whatever it is. And it's like, these are the little things that if you're going to do the event, you got to get more out of it than just showing up, half-assing it, do it the right way, right? It's like, get the most out of it. How can you leverage that event to build your database, to build your brand, to get in touch with your existing database, stuff like that. Even Pi Day, I'm blanking on the name, but there's a house for battered women. And everyone that came to get a pie basically brought something for that charity. And we ended up donating several carfuls of stuff to this charity, right? And it's so it's one of those things, not only are we giving pies away, but it's also a great PR story of how we're bringing our clients to our office, they're bringing charitable goods, we're making the donation, which makes us look really good. And it's just if you're going to do these things, get the most out of them,
By the way, on that, Lori's got a great question. So what do you do at Wolfstock for those who do make it? What is Wolfstock?
Wolfstock. So there's literally 6, it's crazy. There are dogs everywhere. There's a bunch of tents. They do dog little racing events, where they jump over the hoops and stuff like that. So here's the funny thing. So I'm a friggin' robot. I'm a machine when it comes to selling. And we did WaterBot. like August, and we did water bottles with QR codes on them, young team water bottles with QR codes saying get your home value in seconds, right? And so I get there and my team already got everything set up. It's about 30 minutes in and my team was kind of like sitting in the booth, just kind of like sitting there, right? We also did, our photographer did like a raffle for free dog headshots or photos with the family, stuff like that. But so I get there, I'm like, guys, what are you doing? Like, we have these water bottles just sitting in this like big trough of ice. Like, I'm like, you gotta get out there, right? And so I grab a couple cold bottles of water, couples walking by. Hey guys, it's hot out there. Have a couple waters on us. Like, on the young team, right? And by the way, there's a QR code on there. If you scan, you can get your home value in seconds. Really cool, right? And then they walk by and then another, and it's like, I start having fun with it. Like, stay hydrated. It's hot out there. Hey, the Browns game, it was on a Sunday. The Browns game is later on. Get hydrated before the Browns game. Have some spring water on us. Like, and so you got to have fun with it. But anytime you do an event, I would have, first off, some sort of giveaway, right? So like we were doing the headshots. I would have something in a way for you to bring the people into you, but also a way for you to go out to them. Okay. So like we'd had bottles of water, spring water, all branded to the young team. So it gave us a reason to step outside of the booth. And as people were walking by, and who says no to like water on like ice cold spring water on a hot day, like everyone takes them, right? And even if they didn't want them, it's like, well, here, give it to your dog, like pour it in a little bowl or something. So my point is, you got to think through the event. Like I kind of call it like the what else theory. If it's like, okay, what else can we do to make this a 5-star event or for us to get the biggest return on investment? Oh, that's a great idea. What else on top of that? Wow, that's cool. What else? Like, and just keep challenging yourself on like, if you just keep taking it a little bit further and further and further and further, next thing you know, you're actually doing an event where it becomes a revenue generator, right? It becomes an opportunity. Are you marketing it on social media? Are you following up with the people after? Like, are you, once again, talk about database hygiene. Are you putting in your database that these people are pet owners, that these people have dogs, that you met them at Woofstock, right? Maybe you send them a young team branded bandana for their dog, like little things like that. It's just, once again, I know it's old school, or you could just go and spend a lot of money buying leads and see how that works out for you, right? Like, I've chose to invest in assets that ultimately, I always start our speeches off with like, do you rent or do you own your business? I really feel like I own my business because of all of these things that we do. We actually control the IP for, we are in control of the outcome. What I don't control if I'm buying leads from third parties is the quality of them. Are they reselling them to other people? Are they good leads? I don't know. It's like,
are they going to be in business next month?
Am I going to be in business next month? I always say, like, if your business is contingent upon who wins the election or waiting for interest rates to come down, that's not a great business, right? Like the market is what it is. Like some will win, some will lose. But if you own your database and stuff like that, you will start to see that a lot of these variables don't impact your business as much as really the way you look at mine. My business we're up this year quite significantly, despite the market being what it is.
So, all right, let's talk about, because we're running a little bit short on time, and I want to be respectful of your time, but I want to make sure we talk about that nurture process with Fellow. So you talked about how you're using Fellow to get hand raisers out of your existing database. Tell me what that looks like. And as you're talking about this, I'm going to put a link in the chat here for Fellow, but because we get, obviously, and by the way, thank you for the Club Wealth discount. That was nice of you to offer our viewers a special discount. But tell us exactly, because I know Austin uses Fellow and a lot of our coaches use Fellow. In fact, a lot of our top coaches are using Fellow. But why? What does it do?
Yeah. So Fellow does a couple things. The core competency is it finds the homeowners or the sellers in your database. That's first and foremost, right? Like you have a database, what we see is about 20% of someone's database has an address attached, which means 80% of databases don't have an address attached. The reason being is because the majority of databases are built on buyer leads, right? And so most people buy buyer leads and they don't know where these people live. So you sync your database into Fellow. First thing we're going to do is find the addresses. Then we're going to start marketing to these people, right? And driving them to these custom white label dashboards that center around. Go ahead.
Hang on really quick. So Fellow is doing the marketing so the agents don't have to. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's an important component. I want to make sure we don't miss that.
Fellow is completely white labeled. Fellow is completely customizable, but Fellow is really designed to be like, you set it and forget it. You tell us your brand, you upload your videos or don't, right? But all of a sudden turn it on and let Fellow work, breathe light into your database, right? And find these homeowners and start marketing to these homeowners. So that's a core competency, but really what's most important about Fellow is the data. Fellow has public record, MLS, mortgage data. So what happens is, all of a sudden, when you sync your database to Fellow, you're all of a sudden going to see anyone that you currently have an address for, or the ones that we find an address for. You're going to see when they bought that house, if they have a mortgage on the property, what type of interest rate they have, what type of equity they have. The reason why this is really important is, would you rather talk to a seller that's been in their home for over 10 years or less than 2 years? Would you rather talk to a homeowner that doesn't have a mortgage or a homeowner that has a 3% mortgage? So what we do is we start to help you really become intentional with not only the marketing that we're sending to them, but the people you should be having conversations with. And then lastly, which is, and someone said it at the coaches retreat I was with you guys at, Lee Garland said it. The last thing we do is we send you an email every day notifying you of every address in your database that goes on market, whether with or without you, or if they sell off market. And what that does is really starts to help you. It starts to give you visibility into what's happening in your database, and it starts to hold you or your team members accountable to actually the value of these opportunities that are sitting in your database.
So walk me through it then. So we're putting people in the database. And Fellow then automatically syncs up with our database, figures out, who it's supposed to be marketing to. Yep. And then it's sending out emails. I'm assuming, does it send just emails? Is it text message?
Email and direct mail. We're moving into SMS and AI SMS and calling 2025.
Okay. And so it's doing this. It's sending these these emails out, and it's prompting you to physically mail. I mean, I'm assuming that the agent then has to actually physically send the mail out, but we have
mail all through automation. It all is automated. So if someone, you can say, if someone opens their home value email more than 3 times, immediately send them 3 postcards over the next 30 days. If they become a lead or go on market, it immediately shuts off so it's everything's automated. It's set it and forget it.
Dude, that's huge. Okay, so it's doing this, and then it's at some point prompting your ISA, or it could be the agent in this case, if they don't have ISAs. It's prompting them to say, hey, you need to give this person a call.
100%. And what we do is we leverage a lead score. And when you think of like propensity data from other sources out there, it's like everyone has these propensity scores, but no one knows what they mean, right? What we do is we show you why the propensity is what it is. So we'll say this person's opened 7 emails. They've clicked on their home value dashboard 6 times. They've been in their house for 25 years. They just paid off their mortgage. They're actively, clicking on or searching for or whatever it may be. And so it's like, you need to have a conversation with this person. The best part about it is, though, we will notify you when that person lists their home with or without you. So it's kind of like, we told you should have had a conversation with this person. This person listed 30 days later. Like, trust us. Like, look, the data is all there. So it's one of those things that it's really moved the industry by providing that data and visibility and accountability of showing them, let us create the top of funnel engagement for you, but you got to intervene at some point in time and have a conversation with them and go on the appointment.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And that's one of the places where I think agents are just weak, right? Because nobody wants to pick up the phone and actually have a conversation with somebody. But man, that's where the money's made. But
that's where the money's made. And it's like one of those things. I know that, Flex is now a 40% referral. They're going to keep taking that number up. If you don't want to have a conversation and you want someone else to do it for you, it's going to be 40, 45, 50%, whatever it is. They're charging you basically to incubate those leads for you, or you could just do it and take that money back.
Yep.
Or hire an ISA to do it,
Well, and or all of the above, right? I mean,
or all the above.
At the end of the day, the more of these systems you layer in there effectively, the better chance you have of doing more business. Now, that being said, you still have to get voice-to-voice and face-to-face with people at some point. But what I'm hearing is, I'm not just hearing this from you today. I'm hearing this from our clients, our coaches, my son, who's the #1 listing agent in America right now. And in fact, I think he's at 150 listings this year so far. That's just him. That's not
he's a rock star. That guy is a beast.
He really is. But all these guys are using Fellow, and the reason why they're using Fellow is because it simplifies that process. It helps you to figure out, who should I be talking to? What should I be saying to them? And so that essentially what that does is it makes the time that you're on the phone far more effective. You're going to make way more dollars per hour by using Fellow. And so anyway, it's in the chat, in the comments, I've put in clubwealth.com/fellow, FELLO, clubwealth.com/fellow. And I'll tell you guys, Ryan did us a solid. He gave us the very best discount available to anybody in any way. The cheapest you'll ever get Fellow is going to that link right there. That's the cheapest you can get it. And I wouldn't care if you had to pay full price for it. You'd still be making ridiculous ROI by simply implementing it into your business.
And the funny thing about it is that Fellow is a community of like-minded agents that are looking to grow their listing side of their business. And one of the things I'm really proud of, although I've been out of production for 4 years, in March, I did this 30-day listing challenge. And I said to the Fellow community and basically to the world, I'm going to set 30 listing appointments in 30 days, which I was able to accomplish. And I think people were like, how are you able to do this, right? Because these weren't new leads. Everything was coming from my database. And what I was showing them was, all I was doing was having conversations with people that were already engaged with for 6 months, 12 months, that all I had to, they already knew who my brand was. They knew who I was when I called them. All I had to do is pick up the phone. And so it was one of those things. I posted it all on my Instagram account, and like all these live calls I did, they weren't these aggressive, hardcore calls. They were literally like, hey, Michael, it's Ryan with the Young Team. You know, I've been sending you some updates about your home's value for the past 6 months, which I could see on the back end that you were opening and clicking on your dashboard, and you've been in your home for over 20 years. And, you know, Michael, I'm just curious, you know, if there was an opportunity to sell, even if it was off market and it made financial sense, would you be open to looking at an offer? Right. And I would warm up the conversation before I asked that question, but I can't tell you how many people are like, yeah, I mean, if it made financial sense, it's funny. Our kids are gone now. We kind of don't need this much space, which I already knew because I had all this in my database. And it's just really, this game is not hard. It's just, we're more addicted to painkillers than we are vitamins, right? Like if you do a little bit of work, you will see how quickly you can scale a very profitable business. And that's what I love about, you know, all my conversations with you and the community. We're so aligned with profitability and what everyone ultimately is looking to do to build wealth, you know?
Right. Yeah. Well, and you're right. You know, first and foremost, you got to get your business to be profitable. And one of the best ways you can do that is, by the way, I'm not saying, I want to be very clear with people. I'm not saying you guys shouldn't buy any leads, but we need to get to the point where your business is able to drive business rather than you being dependent on lead sources like Zillow, realtor.com, et cetera.
100%. And if you're going to buy leads, this is just my own personal opinion. You don't have to buy bottom of funnel leads because ultimately they're all the same, right? If they opted in, whether it's Google PPC or what Facebook retargeting or whatever it is, you might have to incubate them for a little bit longer. Once again, introduce Fellow, right? But it's like, we've bought leads before, but what I found is that the highest intent leads that I'm spending significantly more convert really at the same conversion.
That's right.
Because what happens is you're the variable when it comes to conversion, not the quality of lead. Right. And so it's like, if you work these leads really hard, even PPC leads, you're going to convert them at a high level. It's the same thing if you're paying 10x for another source, you know? I get all fired up.
I hate to just, I've got another call I've got to get to it. I want to be respectful of your time as well.
Of course.
Here's what I want to do. I want to schedule another time to do another Club Wealth TV episode with you where we talk about lead incubation, lead follow-up. We go deeper on that. I 100% agree with you. I think people are better off buying cheaper leads. I don't buy exclusive leads. I think it's a waste of money. There's no such thing as an exclusive lead anyway. They're opting in on multiple websites. They're being sold to multiple different people.
100%.
Yeah.
Leads are more diluted now than they've ever been. Yeah. And a lead that you're buying today, I bought 10 years ago and someone bought 4 years ago, because people look at homes, they go to multiple websites. You're so spot on.
That's exactly right. All you're really looking for is somebody that has some kind of an interest at some point in time now or in the future in buying or selling a home. And again, with the heavy focus on sellers, not on buyers. You know, the buyers, you'll get the buyers, but you got to focus on the sellers. 100%. So Ryan, Yeah, dude, this was amazing. Seriously, dude, we need to do this again soon. And I want to go deeper on a lot of this stuff with you. Ryan, it can be reached, guys, if you go to clubwealth.com/fellow, clubwealth.com/fellow. You can engage with his team. They'll tell you all about it and why my coaches, or I shouldn't say all of them, but the vast majority of our coaches and my son, who's the #1 listing agent in the country, and so many other top agents around the country are using Fellow. Guys, you need to get engaged. Ryan, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Own your business. Stop renting your business. You will see you'll sleep a lot better at night.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's funny. There's so much money being wasted out there right now by people that are literally renting their business from these lead generation sources. And so, Ryan, thank you so much again.
Appreciate it, my friend.
We'll get this going again. I'll have Tara reach out to you, get another one scheduled. Guys, you'll also be able to see Ryan at Listing Agent Bootcamp coming up in April 25th and 26th in Nashville, Tennessee. If you don't already have your tickets to that, tickets are available at clubwealth.com/LABC. That's clubwealth.com/LABC. I got to tell you, you need to be there. It's going to be awesome. Take care, guys. Thank you, Ryan. Have a great one.
Club Wealth is the only coaching company on the planet that will literally guarantee that you will double your income or make at least an extra $100,000 your first year coaching with us, or we will give you 100% of your investment back. Click the link below, sign up for the appropriate tier level, and let's get you a strategy session today. And I promise you, I 100% guarantee you, promise you that you will walk away with a heart full of gratitude for the time that we took for you, because you got so much value out of that call. Schedule your strategy session today. I promise you'll be glad you did.